Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a look at my February 2024 budget recap using the printable version of the Budget by Paycheck Workbook from the Budget Mom. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. So here we are in my February 2024 monthly layout. As you can see, I have all of my bills listed throughout the month and they're all checked off. I do have my savings challenges listed on Sunday. All of those are also checked off. The month of February was an interesting month. It's a shorter month, but it ended up being a 3-paycheck month for me. So I got paid on the 1st, 15th, and 29th, which definitely will factor into how my budget looks this month. I had a lot going on this month. It was definitely an interesting month for me, a challenging month for me, and you're going to see that reflected in my budget. If we cut forward, the first page that we're going to dive into is going to be my debt payment plan. And I'm going to zoom on in so that you can get a closer look. Up at the top, I have both of my debts listed. The first of which is my car loan, which I owe about $13,500 on, with my minimum payment being a little over $450. And then Nelnet are my student loans, which I owe a little under $37,000, and my monthly payment's almost $700. But I do get a money towards my student loans from my employer, so usually what I pay in a month is $400. Now, I have been actively trying to put money towards debt, and so in the extra debt payments section, you'll see an extra debt payment from myself for $300. This second one of $333.33 is the one from my employer, and then I did put $300 towards my student loan as well. This bottom section here, I couldn't fully fill out last month because I hadn't closed out my budget for December 2023. So with everything filled out, we have last month's budget debt total, I should say, which was just under $52,000. This month, we're just over $50,000. That means we've made a monthly progress of $1,615.11 and a percentage of 2.3 in terms of progress. With regards to my overall debt, this number here is the number of my total debt when I purchased my car in June of 2022. At one point, I did probably have more debt than that, just because this is after I paid off probably close to $15,000 in student loans. But yeah, so we start off with June 2022, where I had $70,910.32 of debt. This month, again, we're just over $50,000, and that means I've made an overall debt progress of $20,665.95. Very exciting to have gotten over that $20,000 mark this month. My overall debt progress has been 29.1%. The next page that we have is my monthly net worth tracker. I did end up closing my budget out a couple days into March. My net worth from last month is listed on top here. Now, I do have all of my assets listed here, but I choose to keep those private. I do have my total assets listed at the bottom here, which is $338,000. I think that's a 3. $338,513.34. Now, my debts, we already know from the last page, it's my car loan and my student loan. They add up to be just over $50,000, and that means that my net worth, which is my assets minus my liabilities, is $288,268.97. That's a change amount from last month of $576.99, or a percentage of 5.3%. Next, we're going to get into my favorite portion of closing out my monthly budget, and that is the monthly budget category breakdown. The first part of this is going to be coming up with your total monthly inflow, which I'm going to pull this down a little bit because I don't want the focus to get funny here. But your total monthly inflow is a combination of several things. First, we have my starting balance. That's the money that I rolled over from January 2024 into February 2024, which for me was $738.68. My earned income was much higher than normal, and that's because this was a 3-paycheck month for me. So my earned income is always going to be the money that I earn from my full-time job, and that is that. Nothing else added in there. And for this month, because of that 3rd paycheck, it was $9,980.93. Other income is a combination of things. The $333.33 that my employer gives me towards my student loans is always in here. There was a couple things that I just got reimbursed for. If I bought something but then returned it, that's included in other income. If I got paid out from any type of side hustle situation, that's in other income. So for the month of February, it was $605.97. And then I used a ton of savings in the month of February. And there was definitely several sinking funds categories that I used from, but the majority of that was actually money that I took out of savings to pay for something that I had to pay for earlier in this month. And you know, if you've been watching my videos, I'm sure you'll know what that is. So I used $7,050.61 of my savings in the month of February. That means my total inflow, all of those things added up together, is $18,376.19. Now, focusing more on the budget categories, I have all of my categories listed here. I always do sinking funds towards the bottom. My monthly budget for these categories is listed here. And then let's get into what I spent. So groceries, I always budget $400. I spent a little under $300, so I was under budget by $100. Eating out, I budget $200. I only spent $32.46, so I was under by over $150. For my gas, I only filled my tank once in the month of February, and that's because I did take some time off from work. And so $37 is what I spent on gas in February. So I was under budget by $113. Miscellaneous is cash coming specifically out of my miscellaneous cash envelope. It's $350 for the monthly budget, but I spent $106. So under budget in that. Miscellaneous bills is a category that I never really have a budget for. This is where everything goes into if it doesn't fall into a different one of my budgeting categories. And in the month of February, that is where a large chunk of my money ended up going because of something that I needed to pay for. And so my miscellaneous bills was $5,660.79. Next, we have my savings. Now, I always like to save almost half of my paycheck. It's probably closer to like 45% of my paycheck, and that's about $3,000. But because of the 3rd paycheck in the month, I was able to save $5,303.07. So definitely a category I'm not upset to be over budget in. Utilities is basically my home phone, internet, cable, and my cell phone. And the budget is $350, and I was just under that at $341.26. Personal is things like Netflix, Spotify, Kindle Unlimited, that kind of stuff. I budgeted $70, but it was $56.81, so a little under budget there. Housing. This is my rent. It's $600 a month, but the way that things fell in February, I paid my February rent with my February 1st paycheck, and I paid my March rent with my February 29th paycheck. And so that's why it looks like I'm over budget $600. It's just that the month of February paid my rent for 2 months versus in January, this was actually $0 because I didn't pay any rent with any January paychecks. Giving, I kind of had to separate out this month. This category here, $20, that's just my church contribution. And then for debt, I added up what my monthly payments would be for my 2 debt categories, but I ended up being over budget with this by putting $1,790.18 to debt. Again, a category I'm happy to be over budget in. Next, we have a bunch of sinking funds that I spent from. So first we have holiday sinking fund, and that was mostly for early purchasing of my mom's Mother's Day gift, and then which was $159.53. We have medical, which was just a copay for something, and then we have car maintenance. I had to get some work done on my car in the month of February. It was due for its first big checkup, and then I also had to pay my deductible because my car finally got fixed from an accident that I had in December 2023. So that's why that was so high, $13,041.32. Next, I did pay my RN and APRN licenses in February. I have to renew them every year during my birthday month. My birthday was on March 1st, so I usually do it towards the end of February. So that was $240. Gifts, I had a couple of things that I pulled from for this, and that was $85, and then giving $198.22. This is giving that I specifically pulled out of my giving sinking fund versus this giving category here, which is my church contribution, is factored into my regular budget. Now, we do always have to include in this section money you're rolling over from the current month into the next month. So money that I rolled into March from February was $1,493.09. And the reason why this is so high is because I got paid on the last day of February. So a lot of cash is rolling over to March to be spent in March. Adding everything up together, we have $18,376.22, which means we were off from our inflow by 3 cents. I'm not worried about 3 cents, so I didn't try to look for it. Although I will say I was off by more than that initially, and it's because I had added something up wrong in one of these categories. Next, we have our monthly debt and savings breakdown. So let's focus on debt first. The debt section starts out with our monthly inflow, which again is $18,376.19. As we saw on the last page, I put $1,790.18 towards debt, which was 9.7% of my inflow. And that broke down to be a little over $1,000 towards my student loans, and then about $750 towards my car. In terms of percentages, 57% towards my student loans, 42% towards my car. I'm okay with that. I think that's a good balance. I don't want one to have a ton and the other to have nothing. I don't mind it if they're not exactly equal, but I want them to be close to equal, because even though I have less to pay on my car and I was really gunning for paying my car off, I'm realizing after my employer stops helping me with my student loans, that's a large monthly payment to have. And so I'm hoping that by the time I get to that point, there's not really much left for me to continue to pay towards for my student loans. So I'm really kind of pushing a decent amount of money towards that now. In terms of savings, we don't go based on inflow, we go based on income. And income is all of the categories from the top here, except for savings used. And for the month of February, that was $11,325.58. I saved $5,303.07, which was 46.8% of my income. I'm very happy with that. And that broke down to be a lot of money towards my sinking funds, $3,630, which was 68.5%. Big part of that was 3 paycheck month, so we contributed 3 times to my sinking funds, but I also put extra cash towards my sinking funds in the month of February to try to bump up my car maintenance sinking fund after having spent a ton from it. We have my 2024 challenge, which got $240, 52-week challenge, which got $273, $5 challenge got $65, house savings got $927.07, which was 17.5%. and emergency fund got $168. I'm happy that this is the second highest in my savings categories. Again, with the 3 paycheck month and with me really committing to putting more towards sinking funds this month, I'm not surprised this is so high, but I really would want my house savings to be the next highest, so it's good to see that it was on here. The last thing that we're going to look at is going to be my monthly spending comparison, and this is another page that I couldn't do last month because I hadn't closed out my budget for December 2023. The first thing is figuring out your inflow change, and again, my inflow change was huge because of a lot of factors. My third paycheck, but also pulling so much money from savings to use during the month. So we had $9,925.34 more inflow in the month of February when compared to January. And so when I look at this spending comparison here, we're going to see that I definitely spent a lot more in February. Groceries, I spent less in February than January. Eating out, same thing. Gas, same thing. But for a lot of other categories like miscellaneous, we were up. Miscellaneous bills is the largest difference. We were up by almost $5,000. Savings, I saved more, which I'm really happy about, by about $1,500. Utilities was the same. Personal was pretty similar. Housing, I actually flipped things over here, so sorry about that. But housing was more, and again, that's because of just the way my paychecks fell. Giving, I actually really was more with giving in the month of February, but I broke it up between this giving category here and then what I spent out of my sinking fund towards the bottom. And then with debt, it was a little bit under, which, considering how much I put towards savings and my miscellaneous bills category, I'm okay with that. Towards the bottom is where I put in all of the sinking funds, and in January I only spent from my medical sinking funds, so the rest of them are definitely going to be over budget when compared to last month. And that's going to be it for checking out my February monthly budget recap. The last thing that I wanted to do was just pull out this $5 challenge envelope. This envelope is available on my Etsy shop, which is always linked down below in the description box. And throughout the month, anytime I come across a $5 bill, I put it in this envelope. And when we do these monthly budget recaps, I attempt to neatly put those fives into this $5 challenge container jar. I got this off Amazon. It's acrylic. The only way to get to the cash in here is to break it open. So my goal has been to fill this as much as I possibly can so that no more $5 bills can fit in here before I actually open it up. I have been doing this $5 challenge for, I want to say this is my third year doing it, but it might even be my fourth year doing it, to be totally honest with you. And it's definitely very full. We're getting closer and closer to $2,000 in here, which is very exciting. So I'm going to take all of these fives and I'm going to try to lay them. I've been trying to kind of like lay them in here. So I'm going to see if I can slide them in. Ooh, that worked. Okay, perfect. That worked really well. So all of those fives are in there. I'm trying to get that one. Do you see it? That one that's sticking up. I'm tapping on the top trying to get it down. Anyways, that worked out really well, which is very exciting. So you will see this guy next month when we do my March budget recap. I'm going to take this $5 envelope and put it back in here. And that's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed my February 2024 budget recap. If you have any questions about the way that I budget or how I use the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom, please don't hesitate to put them down below. And as I said, my Etsy shop is always linked down below in the description box. I have a ton of things in there. There's cash envelopes, sinking funds envelopes, there's different savings challenges, there's different trackers, there's also planning dashboards and things like that. I also have my Amazon favorites linked down below. That is an affiliate link, but there's a section in there all about budgeting supplies. And I also have a separate section in there with my favorite paper that I used to print the Budget by Paycheck workbook, as well as like my favorite pens to use. So all of that stuff is linked down below in the description box. I hope you all have a good day. And as always, please be safe. Bye-bye.